6:03. Second thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Sheriff Wright, would you read?
Cool. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, each to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes. Representative Aldrich.
Present.
Representative Bean.
Here.
Representative Bogert.
Here.
Forbes is not here today. Representative Coker.
Here.
Representative Comtois. Here. Representative Dumais, did he come in? Maybe?
Oh, it's on his way. That's all I can say. He's not here yet.
Representative Freeman. Present. Is here. Representative Lunny.
Here.
Representative Minor is not here today. Representative Nagel.
Here.
Representative Clojet.
Here.
Representative St. Clair.
Here.
Representative Terry.
Present.
Representative Toner.
Here.
Representative Torah here is not here today here. And Representative Varney, not here. So that's 13-4.
Could I look at that from the 17 is 18 of us? Mark you down. Some of these people called in. Representative Boards had a business meeting that he couldn't miss. Representative Minor is on her way back from vacation and she couldn't get an earlier flight. Representative Trottier has a medical issue with one of his children. And Representative Varney has a fire. So I guess they're all excused for one reason or another. So we have a quorum.
Yes.
Next is the approval of the agenda. Representative Terry.
I move the adoption of the agenda as presented.
We need a discussion on that.
Not unless anybody wants to.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Representative Nagels, no.
Opposed?
Representative St. Clair. Yes, okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Number 5 on the agenda would be the approval of the delegation minutes from March 31st. Make a motion.
Sure.
Second. Representative Toner is going to make it to the second. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Good, unanimously passed.
Passed unanimously. 6 on the agenda is approval of the delegation minutes of May 14th, 2025. Somebody else want? Representative Coker. Representative Terry, I guess will be second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous. So number 7 is the delegation session to deliberate and vote on the county commissioner's request for supplemental appropriation in the amount of $130,000. Representative Boger.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to reject the request for supplemental appropriation as the request did not meet the requirements of RSA 2414-A.
Second. Representative Toner seconds. Discussion. Representative Nagel.
Would you explain what that means?
That means that the request for the appropriation, the request itself did not fulfill the obligations that are required in 2414A. So therefore, I'm rejecting the request.
Give me those numbers.
2414, 24:14 dash
Small.
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 Is there any other discussion?
Did you get a second?
Yes.
Yes, I did, Representative Conner. So, is there any further discussion? Representative Sinclair.
If we, after this is voted on, does it preclude us from making any other motions?
No.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I'd like you to read, the roll, please. So if a vote of yes would mean that I don't believe that it meets criteria in the RSA. A vote of yes would mean that I don't think it meets that. I just want to make sure so that everybody knows.
Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Aldrich,
Yes.
Representative Bogert,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
Yes.
Representative Comtois.
Yes.
Representative Dumais is not here. Representative Freeman,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Representative Lunny,
Yes.
Representative Nagel,
No.
Representative Cloget,
Yes.
Representative St. Clair,
No.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
Representative Toner,
Yes.
Representative Trotter is not here. And Representative Barney. So. That is. County. So that is motion passes.
What was the number?
11 to 2.
11 to 2. Motion passes. It doesn't, we don't agree that it meets the criteria in that RSA. Representative Terry,
I have a motion to offer, Mr. Chairman.
please.
This is a standalone motion and is not dependent on the vote that was taken on the prior motion, just for the record. I move no additional funding shall be provided to the UNH Co-op Extension, the Belknap County Conservation District, and CASA, in addition to the sums that have already been approved for each in the county budget that was adopted on March 29th, 2025.
Second.
Discussion. Representative St. Clair.
Very thorough.
Yes.
Very, very thorough. We certainly heard from the public 2 weeks ago. I wish I could have asked a few of them questions on some of the statements they made, but nonetheless, by my count, and these are just people that were in the room, it's just over 30 in favor of them being restored, just over 10, maybe 11 or 12 people that were against it. What was your count? You're shaking your head. What were you saying?
It was about 50-50.
Oh,
The number was 30 months. 30 months, 11.
Madam Gentlemen,
No, no,
ladies and
no.
gentlemen, please,
No.
I would like order in here.
Yeah, no, I leave out the floor, so.
I believe
And
that.
I just wanted to give my colleague a second to clarify. Please direct that.
Questions or statements, Chair.
Okay, so I wanted to give my colleague, I've got it written down too, so. Because I wanted, if I was wrong, you had a different thing, but definitely not 50-50.
It could be
And I-
like
They,
And the commentary out on the street, in my estimation, in my experience, reflects that, what we saw here 2 weeks ago. I wish that we could have asked questions and maybe dig into this a little deeper. And I wish that we had been able, Mr. Chair, to give the commissioners more time to make their case too. Therefore, I'm not thrilled about this motion. I would have liked to have made another motion, or perhaps we could go for 75%, 50%, something, because every little bit helps. But nonetheless, that's my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
water over the dam, I'm afraid at this point. We have a motion and a second.
Who's the second?
Who was the second?
Representative Aldridge.
Yeah. What, Representative Aldridge? I think you was next, Representative.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to second what Representative St. Clair just said, the public.
Well, we have a motion on the floor and that's not it.
Well, I'm
Make
speaking
you out
to
of
this
order,
motion if I could.
Pardon me?
Can I speak to this motion? Because that is what I'm doing.
Yes, that's what you can speak to.
That is what I'm doing.
That's, well, you said his motion.
No, I didn't. I said I know, but just thanking him for what he said. So, I think there were a couple things that we heard in the community statements that really resonated with me. And interestingly, the two opposed each other. The first one was, I guess I'm not allowed to say people by name.
No.
So the first one was the concern about, how transparent the process is, how much the public has noticed of what's going on, things like that. But the second one came from Executive Counselor Kenny, which
I thought we weren't gonna mention names.
sorry, you're right, sorry.
You said it. and then you
If you
did
want to
30
flog me,
seconds
go
later.
ahead, I'll go in the middle and you can go.
Okay, where am I gonna get the stuff?
So, this is my low water. So what was said then was that there are 7 counties. Of the 7 counties, 5 counties actually increased the funding for the New Hampshire co-op, not they didn't mention the other agencies. One reduced it by 15%, but we reduced it by about 50%, which makes us a significant outlier. And he went on to say how important these agencies are. Even going back to the time of Reagan, he created a task force that looked at the whole concept of public-private partnerships and how important they were to promote efficiency of services for the public. Specifically, government isn't great at everything. Private entities can do a great job. And we've had the honor of having two out of these 3 agencies have been working with us now for over 40 years, providing valuable services to us. The other thing that they do that's really important that I've learned is the whole concept of a multiplier effect, which, most government spending doesn't necessarily multiply itself. But for example, the Belknap County Conservation District, with the money that we give, allows them to get a huge number of grants. It's a 32-to-1 multiplier, which is like pretty amazing. That allows us to get a lot of funding that we would not otherwise get. For those of you who are involved in securing grants these days, the world is getting unbelievably competitive. And one of the things that people look at was how much does the community value the services that are being provided. We are making a loud statement here that relative to other counties in the area, we're not as interested in these organizations as they are. And so they may be less likely to give money, make us less competitive, and will affect our ability to get money both through the Belknap County Community Conservation District and the co-op. The other one that's really important is CASA. This is the one I'm still not totally sure I understand, but CASA provides a valuable service performed by volunteers on basically a 3-to-1 ratio, meaning that each volunteer will see no more than 3 individuals. If we don't have sufficient services in this community to do that, then we have to reach out to somebody who's paid $120 an hour that will have about 24 cases per person, which means that they don't really have the amount of time. We were told also in our discussions that frequently the people that are getting these services never actually physically see the person. So with everything that we're doing, there's, we may be saving money at one end and just a cost at the other end. And I think my view is that cost is not worth it. I think that we really should not vote for this, and I would actually support the supplemental request.
Representative Clothing.
Thank you, Chair. Though I concur with Representative Over, I came up just saying the understanding of the RSA did not apply. And I could not make a motion because we were going to discuss it. But since we're not discussing it, other motions could have been made until the second motion till this motion of Representative Terry is presented that wants to shut all three off. So if this passes, none of us can make another motion for funding.
That's the way I understand this
Yeah.
motion. Is that correct?
Right.
Representative Compton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am remaining silent as I am going to have to abstain from this vote due to the ethics rules that we passed this year, which prohibits me from voting on these outside agencies, unfortunately. So I just wanted to let everyone know that I must abstain. But in speaking with this, I just wanted to say that although I disagree that the commissioners RSA that they requested a meeting should have happened under a different RSA, which would have been 24(9)(c). So just in the future, I think we should be doing things correctly. Thank you.
Representative Coburn.
I agree that doing the supplemental wasn't the right way. I'm not in agreement with my colleague's motion to shut the door. We still have a few months left in the year. A lot of things can change, and I'm not gonna go either way on what could possibly happen, but I don't think shutting the door is the right thing to do. I'm willing to listen.
I'd like to respond to Representative Engel. I think you said there were 7 counties. I'm under the impression that there are 10.
You may be correct.
I may be. This multiplied 32 to 1. I think that the money that's coming back is based on approximately a $38 an hour fee, if you will, for the volunteers' work. That's where a lot of that money comes from. It's not really any money. It's $38 an hour that didn't really come here. They're calling an hour of the volunteers' work worth $38. That's the way I understand that. I suppose there is a possibility that I might be off base a little bit on that, but not much. As far as Representative Sinclair, you didn't like, you made like 3 wishes.
3 what?
3 wishes that things that could have happened.
Thank you.
If I recall correctly, the agenda was voted on and the meeting was
voted.
what?
The rules were voted.
That's exactly.
Right. I was the only one that didn't vote for.
So you see,
Yeah, I know.
that's how that works.
I'm aware of it, but I still.
Well, you still can disagree. I just want you to know that this wasn't just my gig.
Oh,
This was voted on by the body.
you carry such extreme
It's fat jokes.
weight.
Like fat jokes.
No, you carry such extreme, trying to think of the right word.
Gravitas.
Wait.
Weight among everybody else's decision. So I get it.
I told you not to say that.
Good. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to add to this discussion? Representative Nagel.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question. I don't know if anybody here represents these agencies that could answer what you just said, but I would think that would be helpful if they.
No. They had their input 2 weeks ago.
They really.
That was the hearing. They really did. I just told him, we voted on how it was gonna work, and that's how it worked. And now that's done, we're on to the next part.
Can I ask a follow-up? Make a follow-up?
Certainly.
So at the last meeting, you said several times that this is the way we do things in Concord. I've never been before finance. I don't know how you guys do stuff there, but like my committee, when I spoke before Commerce on an executive committee and I was in the audience, my esteemed colleague over here was kind enough to reach out to me to clarify a point that wasn't really clear. We did that all the time in Health and Human Services, that we would ask to get the experts in the audience for clarification if we needed it. I was informed that this is an executive committee functionally meeting that we're having today. That's the way it said it on the agenda.
I think we just voted on the agenda.
I would just like the opportunity for the experts to
Well,
answer
you
that
should.
question. I mean, it's your decision, but I'm just asking.
It's not my decision. It was already voted on when we voted on the agenda. I forgot what the vote was.
For the agenda, It was,
It's 11 to
yeah.
2.
it was a-
11-2, that this is the
If I may
event.
argue though that it's clarifying a point within this agenda item. So I failed
Would
to
you like
say
to
why.
challenge the chair? Would you like to make a motion to challenge the chair?
Yes, would.
Okay, does somebody want to second that?
Okay, so
Where's this?
I thought we had a
I
different
make-
motion.
We still have a motion on the floor.
It may be irrelevant
Vice
anyway,
challenge.
whether anybody even here from CCD.
Can't have some motion.
Parliamentarian
You can't challenge the chair.
during the
The
motion
motion that is on the floor
has to be
is
voted
the
on.
one that would have to be challenged, and there's no such thing as a challenge to a motion. So, any challenge would be out of order at this point.
You're a parliamentarian too, Representative Bogert. Do
I concur.
you concur? So it looks like I was offering up a challenge to the chair and I was out of order. I'm sorry.
Well, thanks for offering nonetheless.
Is there any further discussion on the motions on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, as the maker of the motion, when everybody else has spoken, I'd like to.
He's going to speak last, so if you want to speak,
Representative Terry, can you reread your motion too before the vote?
Bucky, we better finish.
Well, I'll speak to the motion. You want to read it again and speak to it, or speak to it and then read it again?
Make no
So
vote.
he's last. So
So the motion that I offered that was seconded, and we've been discussing it, no additional funding shall be provided to UNH Co-op Extension, the Belknap County Conservation District, and CASA, in addition to the sums that already have been approved for each in the county budget that we adopted on March 29th, 2025. So. Continue. I'm going to give you a copy of this. So you
Great. You can email it to me. That would be better.
So just prior to the vote, I would just like to address you, Mr. Chair, with respect to the concern that this is a one and done. It is not necessarily one and done, as was expressed by my colleague, Representative Coker. Or in fact, if he would like to bring a motion in September or October or November at a duly called meeting, that motion to provide funding for any of these groups or any county governmental department would be in order at that time. The motion that is offered this evening is as of today. So I just want to make that clear. This is not in concrete forever until the next budget. It might be, but it might not be if there are members of the delegation who would like to give another go at this later in the calendar year. Then with respect to my esteemed colleague, Representative Nagel, and I don't really want to engage in a debate point for point. I actually agree with some of the things that he had to say. And I'm not going to restate everything that I stated on March 29th because I will have a tendency to actually go longer than I did on March 29th, and I have no interest in that. I think if anybody wants to go back and watch the YouTube, they can watch it and reach out to me with any questions for clarification if need be. But with respect to leveraging funds, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to point out that voluntary donations are often leveraged. I just received a solicitation in the mail today, where if I were to donate a certain sum, that sum is going to be matched by somebody else by 5 times. So if I give 100, somebody else is going to get 500, and that individual or entity. So this is common practice with respect to voluntary gifts and donations. And in addition, I would want to just say that there's never been any suggestion on the part of members of this delegation that these groups do not do good work. There's never been any insinuation or inference that these groups do not do good work. They do good work. And each of these, I would submit, has the opportunity to leverage private donations from individuals, groups, and fellowships. And there are oodles of people out there with oodles of money who would have at heart the work being done by one or more of these entities. And I would submit that since they're just waiting for somebody to ask them, that they're in a far better position than many of the property taxpayers in the county of Belknap, in several of the towns, at the very least, who we know voted down their operating budgets in the March elections. Why? Because they didn't believe that they could afford it. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe that this is an entirely responsible action for us to take. And I believe that each of these entities will now be free to go out and receive the funds that they need from private donations or elsewhere. And I wish them all well. Ready to vote. That's it.
We said he was last.
That's it.
Is that how this works?
I said, if anybody wants to speak before him, you have to speak now because he's
I
last.
just wanted to clarify
Last
one
is
thing.
kind of defined a little bit.
I'm gonna compliment him actually.
I don't want you to do that either. He's to speak last.
Well, we can go.
I've never been in part of an organization that does stuff this way. This is really.
I go by the rules. If the rule is made, that's what I go by. Well, thank you for the applause. I appreciate that. And I know who it's from. So we're gonna go to the vote. Call the roll, please.
Representative Dean,
Yes.
Representative Aldrich,
Yes.
Representative Bogert,
Yes.
Representative Coker,
No.
Representative Comtois is not voting, right?
No, I have to abstain.
Okay.
For the ethics.
Representative Dume,
Yes.
Representative Freeman,
Yes.
clerk votes yes, Representative Lunny,
Yes.
Representative Nagel,
Yeah, or no, sorry, no.
Representative Ploget,
No,
Representative St. Clair,
no,
Representative Terry,
Yes.
Representative Toner.
Yes.
That is 9-4.
You can do these.
Yes, I did. I just covered it. Motion
9-4, motion passes. Next on the agenda, number 8 is other business. There was mentioned by somebody that there may be a report from 4-H. That's why there's a question mark after it. I didn't know for sure if that was happening. Nobody has a report from 4-H? Representative Sinclair.
I have some other business. This, the draft minutes for the meeting on May 14th, we didn't vote on that tonight, did we?
Yeah.
We did vote on it.
Yeah, we did it.
Okay, so we all voted to approve it.
Yes.
So by my count, these ridiculous records here, 35 in favor, 14 against. All right.
Mr. Chair.
I just want to point
That is
out,
another business, is it?
it is other business.
No, it's not.
It's not
One's
other
for
business.
me, one's for me. Thank you,
The horse is dead.
thank
He
you.
did that.
I got my point. Thank you very much.
Is there any real other business?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the audience, I'm wondering, is there a representative from CASA here? Would you come forward for a second? Representative Terry stole a little bit of my thunder about charitable contributions. So tonight, I stand here to make a charitable contribution to CASA in memory of my late husband, who was a volunteer for CASA, because I do believe in the value of community. Right now, everyone is being asked to do more with less. I think your organization shouldn't do more with less, not that I think any of the others should as well. So I wanted to make this donation personally, again, in memory of my late husband, because he felt that this was a worthwhile organization. So please take this. Yeah, I appreciate it. In gratitude from my family. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other business? Last chance. No other business?
I just, if you don't mind, it's 4-H, looks like, I've been in talks with, a member of 4-H, group over there, board member, and from what I see, and I've been talking to this group that everything seems to be fine as far as the fair. And there should be, now, other people may have other information. That's why I was kind of hoping before you might be here tonight, but I am getting notices from 4-H folks that everything should be fine and seamless as we go into the fair. And premiums will be there and the qualifiers will be there just as they have in the past, but we may have additional information on it. That's why we have this bullet point here on the agenda. Does somebody else wanna have additional information about it?
It's just the delegation.
Just to delegate.
Right.
I can speak a little bit. I mean, I know that the county fair wasn't even on their website until about 2 weeks ago. Which was of concern to me. And I know that we heard at our the March delegation meeting that this would be a qualifying event. I'm also hearing rumblings that it may not be, so I'm not sure where we stand with British in respect to that, but I cannot answer that personally. But, you know, I deal with people in my town and others in this area. And for me to do anything to upset the children in the county that have worked so hard for this would obviously not be in the best interest of anybody. And I am hoping that things get solved quickly.
Any other business? Going once, going twice. We're adjourned.